Welcome to Card Players The Circuit, hosted by your favorite set, Scott Huff, Gavin Smith, and Joe Sebok.
That's right, everyone. You are listening to Card Players The Circuit. We are broadcasting on Sports Byline Radio on Sirius Channel 122, on cardplayer.com, and on the iTunes Music Store as a podcast. Scott Huff, Gavin Smith, and Joe Sebok here in the Fontana Room at the Bellagio Resort Casino. And I think a bad beat may have just happened during the intro. There was like a chair kick or a punch. What was that?
I thought he swung. He almost hit me in the head.
Tensions are high.
I think it was Alex Belendon.
It may have been Alex Belendon. He probably just crushed somebody with Queen Jack.
And so are the prize pools, is what I was going to say. Tensions are high, and so are the prize pools. Today, $448,140 prize pool, $134,440 for first place in the 2 p.m. tournament. And that's just a $1,000 buy-in. The 10K is starting on August 7th. Head down here playing that. It is double stacked. We have a great show for everybody today. We have Hand of the Day, Poker Talk with Big G and the Baby Kangaroo, emails, phone calls, and Phil Ivey.
And Philip Jerome Ivey.
Just Phil Ivey, that's it. No big deal. So why don't you tell us what's been going on? Another day off, but more charity for Gavin Smith. What was going on last night?
Last night, Ken and James hosted a party at the Palazzo Suites for the Wounded Warrior Project, and it was really cool. It was a good time. We had a silent auction with a lot of really neat stuff. In fact, I bought an Iraqi flag signed by all the frontline soldiers that are over there. So, it was pretty cool. They raised a lot of money, and they had this guy Heath there that was over in Iraq and lost both his legs. It was the guy I was telling you about yesterday, and. Man, it was just really cool. And they had a karaoke machine. Kind of got up and sang "You're Not Heavy, You're My Brother" to this guy. And man, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. It was really.
So have you,
really
Big
cool.
G? Have you always been into these charitable causes, or is this sort of a new development for you?
Well, no. I mean, I guess I've always been willing to give, but I really haven't had the means to be able to give before. Now, I've got a little bit more money or whatever. So I mean, I'm always happy to help out.
You're a baller now, so now you like to pass the ball, if you will.
And what we're going to find out here pretty shortly on the program is that anyone can give, regardless of whether they have a ton of money to give or not. We have a special young man coming on the show tonight via telephone named Camden, and we're going to hook up with him in a few minutes here. I want to let everybody know. Can you see what I'm wearing, Gavin?
The Circuit shirt.
That's right. Circuit apparel is now available. How we're going to give it away and or sell it is left to the imagination at this point, but we do have some of them out there for everybody. I got to give some to our producer over there. He looks a little disappointed that he doesn't get to wear his right now as we're recording. Sebok, I haven't given him his yet, and I haven't given you yours yet.
True.
But they are beautiful, are they not? Card player on the sleeve, the Circuit on the left breast.
Left tit.
We have the left hit Circuit patch. They're very nice, though. And Shrank has actually started designing some other apparel for the Circuit, although it's a little Euro to my liking.
Which, by the way, I saw, and it is not 1989 anymore, and we are not 14. So I don't know that we can use all of your designs.
I kind of liked it.
Have you seen
Did you see them?
I like the
circuit boards.
I like the one that was. I didn't like the one, but I like the one where it went over the shoulder bit.
He thinks he's like Shrunken Klein, though. I didn't really understand what the situation was there with the shirts. I kind of wanted Donkey Cub Caveman stuff going on.
Shrunk Ferragamo.
Yeah, we need
But speaking of stories that I didn't know would ever develop, but Joe Sebok has one to tell right now that he just got a phone call while we were upstairs planning for the show.
Thank you. I forgot. Just to prove to everyone out there that the Circuit is bringing people together. It's bringing us to a stronger community. I don't know if you guys remember, but the young gentleman who called in and asked Chip Reese for some stories about people he'd busted up and, basically how he'd embarrassed some folks in Vegas back in the 70s and 80s. He wanted those questions. He called Chip up. Chip said, come on down and grab me, and I'll be happy to tell you some of the stories. I just received a call from Chip 20 minutes ago, and apparently this young guy came down to Bobby's room here at the Bellagio, and Chip just spent about a half an hour with him, telling him stories. Yeah, it's great. Telling him stories about people, that he'd smacked around and, different amounts of money that he'd taken down. So Chip is a man of his word.
The Circuit delivers. So someone just ask Phil Ivey for a ride in his McLaren tonight when you call in, and he'll probably oblige very easily, or, I don't know, a free round of golf or something. It looks like we have Camden on the phone right now. Hello, hello.
Hello.
What's up, Camden?
Nothing.
Take it away, Scott Huff.
Camden, welcome to the Circuit. How's it going, sir?
Good.
I hear you're a fan of the show. Are you a high-stakes poker pro? They're not letting you in the casinos yet?
Nope.
I heard quite a heartwarming story about you from last night. Why don't you tell the people at home what happened at the Wounded Warriors fundraiser last night with Ken and James?
What?
Camden, tell them a little bit about your story, about what you decided to do last night at Kenna's party.
Oh, well, I decided to give $1,000 to the Wounded Project thing.
That's right. You did decide to do that, and that was a year's allowance for you, wasn't it, Camden?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty special. Why did you decide you wanted to give all your money away to the Wounded Warriors charity?
Because I met this guy named Heath, and he lost both of his legs.
That's really cool of you to decide to do that, Camden.
I was going to say, at first I wasn't sure how this kid got a hold of $1,000. I was going to ask him if I could have his job. That's a good allowance. But even nicer for you to give it away.
Yep, and that's what I'm doing.
That's really special of you, Camden. And I want you to know that everyone out there listening is going to think that you're a special kid, and I want them all to know that after I met you, you're even more special than the money you gave away.
Okay.
Thanks, Camden.
All right.
Thanks for coming on, little man.
Okay, bye.
And now it's time for some World Series of Poker news. World Series of Poker news. It's Slamastica. We have some results from Day 2A. Is this thing just like the longest tournament in the history? Is it the longest tournament
in the
tournament
history of the world.
Yeah, it feels like it.
It's like, it wasn't the longest tournament in the history of the world for a couple of us.
Yeah,
no. It was actually quite short for me.
Well, I have to be here for the whole thing. Day 2A results include Jeff Madsen going broke, Mike Carroll, Barry Johnston, Mike Sexton, Men the Master, John Jawanda, David Sklansky, and David Devilfish. Uliet, as well as Scotty Wynn, all went broke, but some of the people who survived and will be playing on Day 3, and I got to figure he's an early favorite, Alan Cunningham.
Wow.
David Chu, Theo Tran.
Yeah.
Theo
baby.
Pit Rounder Tran.
Pit Rounder.
David Pham, Mark Voss, Carlos Mortensen, Andy Duke, Chris Ferguson, and Phil Ivey.
How much does he have?
All be playing on Day 3.
Not a lie. He's got about 20.
That's right. Although he said he was going to teach us how to just pick up 6,000 in chips a day, wire to wire.
Right.
I don't know how he's going to manage to survive on that, but he says he has a plan. And I just wanted to read this because your boy Theo has a bit of swagger out there. The quote of the day from Alex Enriquez's report from yesterday's Day 2A. The quote of the day was, I'll raise your big blind all night. Keep pushing. It'll be an early World Series for you. Is what Theo Tran said to an opponent at his table.
Talking some smack.
He's got some swagger.
Theo's got some swagger to him, for sure. There's no question
I tell you
about
what, I read some hand histories of Theo's yesterday when I was sweating him online a little bit, and boy's getting out there a little bit.
Yeah. Every single time I saw one, it was like, Tran shows bluff. Tran bluffs. Tran shows bluff. Tran smacks someone in the dome with a bluff.
And he keeps showing everybody. It's
I know,
like,
every single time.
F you, man. I had nothing. You couldn't call, though. I knew that.
Day 2B was a long way down for Hung Peter Tran. He is now down to about 20,000 in chips after starting the day with
That
170.
kid is a freaking whack job.
He is a nutcase.
He has done some of the most craziest, retarded things I've ever seen on a poker table. I have to be completely honest with you.
An up and down day for Daniel Negreanu. He has, but he's back on the upswing. 134,000 for him when we last checked. Daryl Dickens still alive, and in the top 10, Jeff Cabanillas is climbing, and Joseph Hesham. Pasta Sugar is still alive.
Joseph Hesham.
That's pretty big. I mean, it's pretty strong. He could be seeing
It's
a Day
strong.
3.
It's strong.
Although, I mean, what did Raymer see? He saw a Day 6 or a Day 7.
He saw about as far as you could get
Exactly.
without making the final table.
Pretty unbelievable.
And now it's time for Poker Talk with Big G and the Baby Kangaroo.
Did we already mention that that's Danny's voice? We did, right?
Yeah, we did.
On the air. That's pretty amazing. Today's Poker Talk with Big G and the Baby Kangaroo. Speculative hands.
Speculative hands.
What are they, and how can you use them strategically in No Limit Hold'em?
Speculative hands are, your hands like 5-6 of spades, these sneaky hands where you can get in there and end up making a huge, actually, I got knocked out by somebody who played a speculative hand with a 4-6 of hearts. They're hands that are kind of disguised usually. It's hard to put somebody on one of these types of hands, calling raises, especially when you call a raise with it. Then it really becomes sort of disguised and very, very sneaky. You can use them as a strategic tactic just by that, calling raises with them. You need to be able to let them go, though. And Gavin and I have talked about this several times. If you're going to play a 6 and a 4 and you hit a 6... You need to be able to let that hand go. I mean, what you're really looking for is to make 2 pair. You're looking to flop some kind of draw. the draw will hopefully be pretty well concealed when it all goes down. But you have to be able to let these hands go. If that flop comes ace 9-4, that hand isn't worth shit, and you need to be able to identify that quickly.
Well, unless, of course, you're playing in the 5-10 game here at the Bellagio. Last night I saw a guy play a 5-6, hit top pair on the 6-3-3 board. Then it came queen 10, and he still managed to build a $5,000 pot in a 5-10 game with it. Guess what? The 6 was good. Gavin Smith, chime in on speculative hands.
I play them.
That's good.
Gavin's career is based on speculative hands. But then again, this highlights the whole point that Gavin has been playing for quite some time. He's very, very comfortable and good at being able to navigate the waters, that come along with playing these tough hands. So.
Do you agree with Sebok when he says, if you hit the 6, you got to get rid of it?
Sometimes.
Well, sometimes, of course. Not always.
What Joe was saying there was this, is that, you don't want to go broke with one pair just because you flop one pair.
Right.
And that's about right.
What's your feeling with speculative hands? When are you supposed to play them and when you're not supposed to play them?
I play them all the time, so you're asking the wrong guy probably.
I don't think
I guess you're supposed to play them late.
Yeah. Are you supposed to play them late, you said?
Yeah, late position.
Got you. Position.
Yeah, supposed to play them late position when it's to call pre-flop. It isn't a very big portion of your stack. And you want to play them against guys that are equally deep as you are, so that you can actually get a big payoff.
Right. But you're saying in your case you play them a majority. Do you think it's a mistake for people to play them by the book, supposedly in multi-way pots, or do you think that you can successfully play them?
Absolutely. You can play them whenever you want. You're looking to flop a monster.
Right. I don't think there's ever a time when you shouldn't play them. Mm-hmm. Well, there may be. You probably don't want to play one of these sneaky hands if it's, let's say your head's up and your opponent happens to be a rock. And you know that if you hit, you're not getting paid off. That's kind of the whole point of playing these hands. You got to play them against people that are going to let all their chips go. They're really going to open up the floodgates and just let you take them down. So you want to make sure that you can get a bunch of chips, rather than just trying to take them heads up against somebody that's not going to pay off.
All right, now it's time for Hand of the Day.
Nice hand, sir.
This is from this year's main event. This guy wrote in telling us that it was his first main event. Day one, he worked his way up to $52,225 by chopping away a lot of small pots. On day two, he started off with the same strategy. He worked his way up to $70,000, which is when this hand comes in, halfway through the third level. The blinds are 4 and 8, 400, 800 with a $100 ante. And the under-the-gun player with $58,000 in chips and is pretty new to the table. And it started off playing very tight. He raises 2 times under the gun to $1,600. So a min raise under the gun to $1,600. This is the first time he had made this raise. His standard raise had been 4 times the blinds. The player 3 to his right with $20,000 called, as did the player 2 to his right who had $75,000. So he had king 3 of clubs on the button and decided to take a flop to try to hit a big hand.
Okay, well, hold on. So he had king 3 of clubs and he called a raise? Is that what?
That's correct. He called a min raise from under the gun.
He's already a moron. This is already a horrible... First of all, why would you call a raise with a really, really bad hand in this spot? I think it's a very bad call.
If you think you can outplay the guy later.
A lot of danger. The only way that
4
you can
players
feel
in the pot
okay
at this point too as well.
Right. The only way you can feel okay about this hand is if you flop some kind of club draw.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. The flop came king of diamonds, 3 of diamonds, jack of clubs. So king 3 jack with 2 diamonds.
Right.
And it was checked to him. He bet $4,500.
Mm-hmm.
The big blind folded, and the original raiser made it $15,000 to go, and the 2 players in between them folded.
Okay.
So they're heads up. At this point, he says, what would you put him on, and how would you proceed with the hand? Remember, they're both pretty deep stacked. $70,000, and the other guy had $58,000.
The other guys most likely to hands are 2 aces or ace king.
Right, exactly. So either way, you've got him. I was going to say ace king, but yeah, either way, it's gin. You've hit your hand. You've played this tough hand to play, but you've happened to get the perfect flop.
I suppose he could have 3 jacks too.
Yeah, he could. Sure, it's possible. It's definitely possible. But
I'm going broke with that hand.
Yeah,
if I call and get that flop, I'm getting the money in.
Yeah, it's a cooler. If he's got 3 jacks, it's a cooler, and you just give him a nice hand and you walk on because you're not getting away from it.
Actually,
point.
I catch the king.
Yeah.
Well, he caught the king in a way, but he says my first instinct was to fold, but I think I convinced myself that he had ace-ace.
No,
and I went all in.
That's idiotic.
He called and showed king jack. Turn was the ace of clubs, giving me the flush draw, but the king came on the river, giving them both a full house. He was crippled with about $12,000 left, and shortly after was broke.
Right.
After starting the day with $70,000.
Well, I think for me, I would never go broke with this hand because I would never call a raise. If anything, I'm going to re-raise with one of these hands if I feel that somebody's weak. But this is the reason why I don't play hands like this, because you hit the king and you're never comfortable. Even in this spot, he happened to hit the perfect hand, and somebody else was on top of him. So for me, it's not that interesting of a hand. Once you get in the hand and you flop those 2 pair, you're going broke. I don't see any way that you're going to get away from that hand. But I would have never played the hand in the first place. Gav?
Ditto.
Yeah, I just wouldn't have played the hand. It's too dangerous.
Too dangerous to be playing King 3, especially if he says that you managed to chopping away small pots. Why would he want to get involved in a huge pot with a hand like King 3,
absolutely.
right?
But then once you, I see a lot of people trying to second guess themselves. There are so many hands in poker that you're just going broke with. You just can't get away from. There's so many hands that that he would have beaten that spot that it's really tough to put on, especially if he raised up top. King Jack is a pretty weak hand to raise with up top. So, you just got to say it sucks, man. Maybe it was a bad decision to play the hand, but once you play it, that's kind of the way it goes.
We have some great emails and phone calls coming up on The Circuit.
How does $10 in free poker cash sound? It's easy at VCPoker.com. Just log on, sign up, and get $10 free to start playing a wide range of games, including Hold'em. VCPoker.com makes it easy with the latest software, and your payments and payouts are always safe and secure at VCPoker.com. With 60 years of gaming excellence, VCPoker.com is a company you can trust. Sign up now for your free $10. Log on to VCPoker.com/free35 and get your money for nothing and your chips for free.
Welcome back to The Circuit, everyone. Scott Huff, Gavin Smith, and Joe Sebok talking a little poker here from the Fontana Bar at Bellagio. We have a limerick here, Gavin. This limerick thing is really catching on, and it's kind of a good one. This one is not meant to hurt anyone's feelings at all. The email starts, "Hi there, it's Mark Newman here from London. Have emailed Joe a couple times, sending this to his email address too, just in case. Anyway, I have a limerick for you. Hope you like it. It's called The Circuit." So this is from Mark Newman in London. The Circuit. "There once was a fella named Huff who wouldn't go see girls in the buff. He's got a girlfriend, you see, sworn to monogamy, and for him that's just more than enough. He's the captain of this here good ship, which now sails at a really good clip. His groundwork rewarded, professionalism lauded, to reach broadcasting heights. He's our tip. Now then you have Gentleman Joe, who will always put on a good show. On the mic at the felt, whatever he's dealt, even Spider-Man, he's good to go. The simpletons pick on his shirts, while to call him the Cub simply hurts. But the haters are losing, because this guy has proven his worth with a couple of firsts."
Nice.
And then there is Gambling Smith, who likes to play up to this myth, because reality is your money is his unless you outdraw him on fifth. Together they fit like a glove, the airwaves just buzzing with love. They've created a hit, man, it's called The Circuit, and the poker world can't get enough. And then it says, "Ha ha, hope you enjoyed that as much as I had fun writing it."
Very cool.
Mark from London, we appreciate it. Now on to the phone calls. Danny, take it away.
Hey guys, it's Ben from Vegas. I've been thinking about expanding my poker horizons lately. As of right now, I only play No Limit Texas Hold'em. They're the obvious games like, Omaha and 7-card stud, all those, but I heard they play 14 games at the big game at the Bellagio.
Nope.
I was kind of curious.
Nope.
What are all 14 of them?
Nope.
Thanks, guys.
They don't.
Yeah, they do.
I heard Chip say 14.
They don't put it. They don't necessarily have all 14 in the mix each time. But they have 14 games that get involved at one point or another.
Well, usually they have about 7 or 8 games in any given rotation.
What are you saying? There's 14 they will play.
Yeah,
I believe Chip said that on our show.
And he did say that. Right. And I think it was wrong of Joe to be sitting there kind of pompous.
I'm not being pompous. I'm saying no. That they do not play 14 games at one time.
Gavin Smith,
they have never played 14 games.
But that wasn't what the guy was saying. He just said, "What are the 14 games?"
All right,
I don't even know what they all are.
Enough bickering, gentlemen. What are some of the games? I know that some of the games he probably doesn't know about are stud, high, low, regular.
They play stud 8, stud, high, low. They say Omaha 8. They play.
Well, he said those are the obvious ones. Stud, high, low, regular is one he doesn't know about.
Right.
Which the rules are basically the same as stud, high, low, except it's not 8 or better. Any low is a qualifying low.
Right. They play deuce occasionally, deuce to 7.
Pot limit Omaha.
They play pot limit Omaha, but basically all the time. They play Badoogie. They play no limit Hold'em.
Chinese poker.
They do play Chinese poker. I'm not sure if they put that officially in the actual mix. I'm not sure or not. I don't think that they ever play limit Hold'em. I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, they do.
They do play. I don't remember them, so I guess they do play limit Hold'em. Beyond that, I'm not.
Pot limit Hold'em, no limit Hold'em.
I don't think they play pot limit. I think they play no limit with a cap.
No limit, $100,000 cap. Pot limit, $100,000. Well, there used to be a $100,000 cap, but that's not so true anymore.
I don't think they play. I could be wrong. I mean, I don't sit in there and play with those guys.
Anyways, the interesting games that they play that you probably don't know about, you might want to learn about, that could be fun to add into the mix of games. You probably won't find a game of stud, high, low, regular anywhere else other than 4,000, 8,000, right?
They play Raz.
Raz, there you go.
Do they? I don't see him ever playing Raz. They probably do. It's probably in the, I just want to argue with anything that's said.
Apparently so.
I think that they play Monopoly, depending on how slow the poker gets.
Actually, I was talking to Jawanda one day, and John Juanda, Eric Lindgren, and I think Daniel were over at Phil Ivey's house, and they were going to play Monopoly for real money. But then something ended up happening that they didn't actually do it, but they were actually going to
kind of awesome.
They were actually going to use like real money and play Monopoly and see what happened.
Wow.
That's kind of amazing.
That's amazingly sick.
How much money is, like, let's say, what do you start with the Monopoly? Do you guys remember?
I don't even remember.
I don't remember. It's two.
And they probably would have jacked it up a
2,200,
bit.
I guess. 2,000.
So I'm sure they would have jacked it up and started with like at least 10,000 or something like that. That would have been pretty fun though.
Have you ever seen that Monopoly set that has all like the gold pieces and stuff? Have you ever seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's take the next phone call.
Hey guys, how you doing? This is Brian from Los Angeles. Love the show. I just want to ask you a question, not strategy-wise, but I'm wondering how you deal with a significant other with a negative outlook on the game, often affecting my play because I know she's upset about it, and then maybe get in an argument when I go to play live or even online or even watch it on TV. Have you guys experienced this, and how do you deal with it?
Would you care to address this one, Scott?
I can. Go ahead. Nothing.
Scott, I don't even have I currently do not have a significant other, so I am not versed enough to answer that question.
I'll jump in here. I dated a wonderful, wonderful girl for a couple years. She wasn't actually against poker, but it was just the time that it took away from me and her. So unfortunately, we had to break up because obviously this is my career, and I couldn't be with her. But one thing you should not play if you guys get in arguments. I mean, any of those little things that happen that can affect your mental, outlook on things. It's never a good idea to sit down and gamble with your money. So, if it's something, I guess I didn't catch from the caller how much he plays. Is it just a hobby? Is he trying to do it professionally? How much time is it eating up? I guess is kind of a bit of an issue. But generally speaking, if you win, she'll probably leave you alone a little bit more. I tend to find that the significant others are more okay with things when the money's coming in rather than when they're losing. But yeah, it's tough, man. A lot of people don't like gambling in the poker world, so you gotta figure it out.
my girlfriend's actually the reason.
I have to say something. You just
my girlfriend is the reason that they banned internet poker in Washington. That's the reason. She is a part of the people lobbying for internet poker to be banned.
Alexandra set it up.
That's right. She's a huge politician in Washington. She's the reason that internet poker was canceled. That's what I think about girlfriends who don't like poker. She actually is the reason that internet poker is possibly going to be banned in this country.
Very nice.
That's what I have to say about it.
I just wanted to say.
I'm just glad you were able to say it a little quicker than what Joe did.
You know what? And I was about to address this. If you would talk a little more, then I wouldn't have to go
right
on
after
like
this.
a win
Bill Ivey on the circuit.
Baggery, my friend.
Hi, I'm Chris Ferguson, and here's my tip about playing Big Slick. While Ace King in the hole is a strong hand, many players misplay it by going all in from early position. The problem is, it's only a coin flip against any pocket pair. To get the most out of Ace King, raise 3 times the blind to drive out players with marginal hands. If you hit the flop, you can really punish players with smaller kickers playing this way. To learn more about playing Big Slick, visit FullTiltPoker.com, where you can learn, chat, and play with the pros.
This is Joe Hashem, and you're listening to The Circuit. Anytime you're ready, you can pass the sugar.
Welcome back to The Circuit, everyone. We are broadcasting on Sports Byline Radio on Sirius Channel 122, on CardPlayer.com, and on the iTunes Music Store as a podcast. Our guest today is a 5-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner, has over $6 million in lifetime tournament poker winnings, is still alive in this year's World Series of Poker main event, and a lot of you out there in listener land have asked for us to have him on. So here he is, Phil Ivey. How's it going? Thanks for coming on the show.
It's going pretty good. I got 23,000.
Scott, he's also one of only 10 people in the world that are better at horse than me.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I read that somewhere.
11th best horse player in the world.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you are pretty good. Omaha 8 or better is his best game. That's for sure.
I read that too. So what's this costing you to come sit with us? A couple million?
No, come on. It might be. You might be saving me money.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, that's a good way to look at it.
It doesn't look like the way the game's going tonight. We're saving you money.
Yeah, right now I'm doing pretty good.
Yep. Talk a little bit about the World Series this year. Obviously, you had a couple final tables, a second and a third, and now you're still alive in the main event. But
I played like 10 tournaments, and I came in second in Omaha 8 or better, and third in the horse, and I'm still in the main event. So I'm hoping some good things happen.
Were you at all surprised to see the people that you saw at that final table, considering you play with them every day? Was it just pretty much?
No, it wasn't a surprise. I mean, they're the best players in the world. They play the most horse out of any of the rest of the players, so I expected them to be there.
Well, most of those guys are guys that you play with anyway.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, Barry Barry almost made it.
Yeah,
Doyle, Chip. So.
How about Gavin Smith in 11th? Were you surprised to see that?
Yeah, that was a shock.
At least he got drunk at the right time, so he wouldn't have to go to the final table and play his best game, right?
Right.
Drinking had nothing to do with it.
What, getting knocked out?
Yeah.
It was the bad play that did it, not so much the alcohol.
It was his own
limit hold.
Well, you play better drunk anyway.
So before we came on the show, Joe Sebok relayed a quote from you that said, "If you can't pull $1,000 out of your wallet right now and light it on fire, you shouldn't even consider playing poker." You said that would be the first line in your poker book. Is that
I
right?
said $100.
Oh, $100.
Yeah. Backtracking. Here we go with the backtrack.
I said $100.
That's it?
Yeah. I mean, just to show you have to have a certain disregard for money to be a good poker player. I mean, to be a really good poker player, you can't really be worried about losing. So,
when did you realize that in yourself? Was it sometime when you were growing up you realized that you were able to just put money on the line and not care, or was it?
Well, yeah, I guess I just always had a when I'm gambling, you just have to know that you are going to lose sometimes. So I always just went in with that attitude, like I was just always prepared to lose, prepared for the worst.
Right.
But I mean, even with that said, though, I mean, I don't think of you as like an action junkie. I mean, you play to win.
I play to win, but I'm definitely an action junkie. I mean, you ever see me play dice?
But I know a lot.
You never see me play dice.
That's the definition of action junkie.
No.
Sick.
But I know a lot of other players that will gamble, lose, gamble, lose. You know what I mean? Lose.
Oh well, yeah. I know when it's time to quit. I mean. For the most part, I mean, every once in a while I'll go off for a big number in the big game, but for the most part, I quit when I need to, and I have a certain amount. You have to have some discipline, else I'll be broke.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of those guys that don't. They don't have that discipline. They're like a true action junkie. You're a winning action junkie. Then there's just an action junkie who's just going to gamble.
Yeah, I've lost too much. I lost more than I should have a couple of times. Trust me.
Sure.
And been in situations where, I regret, but. Now everything's all good.
Right.
Well, we were talking to I was talking to Barry beforehand. You saw me snooping in there on the big game. He decided he was going to chime in a little bit on some things that we should talk to you about. And one of them he mentioned was you told me not to let him take over the show, but I gave him the ability to at least put his 2 cents in. He mentioned
He'll put it in too. Don't worry about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I got more than 2 cents, and he won a little bit while I was sitting there, so I didn't feel too bad. But he mentioned that your grandfather was a pretty influential guy in New Jersey, and that he was an influential person on you growing up. And I read online that he was actually the person who introduced you to poker. Is that right, or somebody?
Yeah, he showed me how to play 5-card stud when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
So yeah, we were playing for pennies. He used to cheat. He cheated me. So he knew somehow he knew how to deal off the bottom of the deck or whatever it was. So he used to always win. He used to always cheat me. He tried to make me not want to play poker, but I always wanted to play. We played blackjack and everything else. And I used to always play shoot craps with my uncles, out in the streets and everything. So he's definitely one who introduced me to gambling.
It's crazy. I can't imagine how you became a professional gambler. You're 7
years old shooting craps in the front yard.
Shooting dice. You learn your card mechanic in the family, dealing off the bottom of the deck.
Was that meant to steer you away from it? And then
it was meant to steer me away from it because he knew how much I loved it. I guess everyone knew that I loved to gamble. I always wanted to say, well, let's bet. That would be my favorite line when I was little.
Right.
So I guess it didn't work. It was just in my heart, I guess.
Yeah. So was that just an innate thing? When did you actually pick up poker, or were you gambling on other things other than poker before you got to the age where you could? Well, I mean, I think it's pretty well documented that you snuck into casinos in Atlantic City and all that. But was there a time beforehand when you were?
Where I was what?
When you were gambling, or that you were gambling anything other than cards? Yeah,
I was gambling. I was playing CeeLo, Tonk, Spades. Everything we did was for money back then. So, I just kind of grew up with that mentality, and it just carried over.
It's also pretty well documented that you played a lot of video games. You're a competitive video game player. Was there any gambling involved there?
Yeah, we gambled. We played Miss Pac-Man. We gambled at that. We gambled shooting free throws. We gambled at, whatever it was to gamble at, we would figure it out and gamble.
I think I have a better question. Was there anything you ever didn't gamble at when you were a young dude?
No, we gambled at almost everything. I mean, it wasn't fun unless we were betting something.
Right. So was there anything about that other than just the gambling aspects that really translated into poker, or was poker just a separate thing that you then continued on your path of learning about it?
Yeah, well, poker was something I was kind of forced into because I would go down to Atlantic City and play craps and blackjack and roulette and just dump off all my whole paycheck every week. So, finally I just kind of stumbled in the poker room and started playing poker just to have some money in my pocket. So, I kind of was forced into poker. Then I realized you can make a living at it. And I guess the rest is history.
Right. So, I was just going to jump in. Was it, for you, Phil, was it like an immediate with poker? Like you were like, okay, damn, I could do this? Or did it
took a little while because in the beginning, believe it or not, I was a real tight player.
Yeah.
What? I actually remember that.
You remember that? Yeah.
He came up to Fox.
That's when I first started.
Never said a word, never moved a chip, just did nothing. I think he finished higher up than I think he beat me. But
you know what? The first satellite I ever played in was with Gavin. You don't know that, though. Did you know that?
I didn't know it was your first ever.
That was my first one I ever played. It was with Gavin up in Foxwoods. Yeah. He was pretty tight player, too, back then.
I can't even imagine the two of you guys playing tight.
We were both tight.
Yep.
So what about your first World? Did you win a bracelet at your first ever World Series?
Yeah, my first ever World Series. I won a bracelet. I beat Amarillo Slim. We played heads up in the pot limit in Omaha. He had like 460,000 in chips, and I had 60,000 when I got heads up, and I ended up winning.
That was the first one you ever lost, wasn't it?
Huh?
You were the first guy to ever beat him, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Heads up.
Wow.
First time he ever lost at the final table.
So what's that like? I mean,
he started at final table, so I guess.
When did you realize that you could play with those guys and make the conscious decision to go out there and take your shot at it?
Well, I never really realized I couldn't play with anybody, and I never was really afraid of playing poker against anybody. It just was. I don't know. I don't really see how anybody's afraid of anybody else at a poker table. I mean, there's a certain amount of luck involved, and I just. Sat down and played with them. I felt as though if they were better than me, I would figure out a way to beat them eventually.
Mm-hmm. How old were you when you came out to the first World Series?
I think I was 23 or 22. I'm not sure. I don't know, 23 or 22.
Well, what I'm kind of interested in, because there's so many young kids that come out and play now. This kid, Jeff Madsen, came out. He won 2 bracelets, made 4 final tables. When you left,
I've never even seen him.
You've never seen him? When you left your first World Series, did your work ethic about the game change at all? I mean, do you think that...
Yeah, when I left my first World Series, I was broke in 3 months.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I won $195,000. I went back to Atlantic City, and I played higher than I should have been playing, and next thing you know, I was broke.
Right.
So.
See, my prediction for Jeff Madsen, this kid, is that it's going to be the worst thing in the world for him to win the $1.4 million at age 21. I think in a year he's going to be in big trouble.
No, it just depends on whether he decides to play live or not. I mean, it depends on how good he wants to become in poker.
Right.
Like I tell a lot of these young kids, they come up to me all the time and ask me how they're going to get good at poker and how they want to become really good poker players and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, if you want to get good at poker, you got to play all the time, every day. It has to be your job. And they think just because they see it on TV and everything else that they can become good poker players. They don't realize the amount of work it takes to become a good poker player.
Yeah.
And just playing poker tournaments isn't going to do it. So, it just depends on how good Jeff wants to become.
Right.
He's going to have to come back. He's going to have to start playing a little live. Maybe he'll stroll into Bobby's room and play.
You calling him out there?
No, I'm not calling him out. I don't even know the kid. I'm proud of him. I'm happy that he's won 2 tournaments. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you went back and you went broke again and had to start playing, did you start right back from the bottom, or were you in a situation where people wanted to put you in the game and whatnot?
No, nobody ever put me in a game, so I just I went back, started playing 30-60 stud, and just built back up.
Wow.
I went broke playing 4 and 800. It took me about 2 to 3 months, and then I had to go back down to 30-60, and I just build it back up.
Well, let's flash forward here. It's obviously been an eventful year.
Flashing forward to 6 months from now when he's playing 30-60 stud here.
What's that? Not quite.
I have a feeling that the 30-60 days are over.
Well, as long as I can borrow from Barry, I'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, you don't know how long that's going to be either.
Yeah, sure.
It's been an eventful year in a lot of ways for you. You won a couple events in Monte Carlo, and I heard that you did not even want to go. Is that right?
To Monte Carlo? Oh, yeah. I just did Monte Carlo because for full tilt. I mean, I didn't really want to go way over to Monte Carlo to play a poker tournament, but they said that I had to go. I had to play in this full tilt event that they were having. So I ended up going, and I ended up winning 2 tournaments.
You just take
worked out. Yeah.
Barry said you had to convince you paid for him to go just so that you would go as well.
I told him I told him his flight was free. and I'll buy him into the tournament if he just went so we could play Chinese poker.
Just on the fly.
The whole time, yeah.
But as a free roll, he got to keep his winnings though.
But instead I got to play with Phil Helmuth and Mike Matusow, so that was a little better.
Yeah.
Well, there's a video that's cycling around on the internet now of one. Do you know about this? The hand that's going around on the internet that you played in the Monte Carlo Millions, the one where you put in like the fifth raise with Queen 3 or
I never seen the video. It's on the internet.
Yeah, there's clips of it now on YouTube, which is the site where you can get all these videos. They have it there, and they people on their MySpace pages, and it's like people who love poker. They have this little video inserted where you kind of abuse this guy. And did he have the same hand, or he was just trying to run one through you? And
no, he had. I think he had 5-6. And I had Queen 8, and I knew once we got head up that he wasn't going to let me outplay him. Like I could tell that he just made his mind up that he wasn't going to let me outplay him. Mm-hmm. So I just decided he didn't have anything, and I wasn't going to give him the pot. Every once in a while, I get stubborn. Most of the time, they have it.
Well, what's more likely for you these days? That someone's going to not let you outplay them at all, or that someone's going to just be completely weak at the table and tighten up? I mean, do people play more poorly against you now, knowing who you are from TV?
I get a mixture of both. Sometimes they play really badly against me. Like let's say the fourth hand of the World Series this year, I had 2 aces and a guy had 2 10s, and I doubled up.
Wow!
And it went raise. He re-raised me. I re-raised him. He called. I bet the flop. He called. I moved all in on the turn. He called. He had 2 10s. It come Queen high.
Wow.
So
you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And I still ended up the day with only 16,000.
He got 10,000 in with 2 10s. That's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah,
that's nice.
He said he thought it was a move. He said he thought I was on a move like on TV.
On the first 4 hands.
Wow,
that's unbelievable. Well, I was talking to Bear at one point. He was telling me that both of you guys kind of feel that you can't bluff anymore. You just can't, because people are going to look you up, just like that dude did with the 2 10s. Even though it's almost impossible to make a move.
Bluffing is a lot harder for me, especially now when I'm playing with someone new, because they always think I'm bluffing. People don't understand that. The hands that they see on TV, a lot of them, all the hands on TV are edited. So you're going to see the hands that I'm bluffing. We might be playing for 12 hours at the final table, but they're going to edit down to the hands where I'm bluffing, or maybe the craziest hands.
Right.
So these are the ones that they see on TV. So I guess they translate it into real life.
How did you pick up so quickly in Monte Carlo on the fact that person wasn't going to let you outplay them? Was there hands leading up to that?
He just had a certain look in his eye when I started playing him. I could just tell that he was like, all right, well, he had 600,000 locked up. He wasn't going to let me outplay him. Right. He just had a look in his eye.
Right.
There's sometimes you can just look at somebody and tell.
Wow, Phil Ivey really can read minds. It's true. I've heard it. I told you. I said that to you at the Bodog Awards. I was like, "Tell us the truth. Can Phil Ivey read minds?" And I promised everybody on the show that you were going to come in here and you were going to say one thing that would change their games forever. But I don't know if that's necessarily true. That's what I said. One sentence that will make them better poker players. So you won Monte Carlo, or a couple of events in Monte Carlo. Which came first? Was the heads-up match against Andy Beal before or after Monte Carlo?
That was after Monte Carlo. That was, I think, almost 5-6 months ago, maybe.
Can you tell us a little bit? Actually, can you tell us a little bit about that? I know it's been a pretty private thing, but some of it became public from people coming down there and sweating it and getting whatever information.
I guess it's not really that private, and they've been writing all over the place about it.
Right.
I mean, the first day we started off playing 30 and 60,000, and I think he ended up losing. He lost $2 million, and then the second day he lost $4 or $5 million. The last day he lost $10 million. So.
You were never stuck against them? I thought there was a period in time when you were. No.
The third day I was stuck. Right away, I was stuck $4 million, and then I ended up winning again. That money was split among a lot of people, just in case any of the wrong people listen.
The people that you owe.
Yeah, that's right. It was split. And I heard that someone, I forget who it was, came up to you and told you that now the goal was going to be to win it all back from the people that it was split among.
That's what I'm working on right now as we speak.
Well, not quite, because we have you in the studio for a couple more minutes. So you were never stuck in that game, and when you played against him, what was your assessment when you were stuck to $4 million? What was your assessment?
When I played against Andy, I think Andy played. Actually, I think he played really well. I mean, he adjusted to what I was doing, and I mean, I held the deck for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
for everybody at home, Phil Ivey just winked.
No, I did. I held the deck, and I was definitely the luckier of the two players. That was for sure.
Right.
I mean, and if the cards were reversed, I would have lost. I might not have lost as much as he lost, but he definitely would have won.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to, playing again.
But I'm assuming that you think that the longer you guys play, the less opportunity he has to win. Like, it's just an issue of how long you're going to play, how long it's going to take you to get the money. It's not an issue of Andy Beal can beat you at any point.
Well, again, Joe, I feel like if I play anybody long enough that eventually I'm going to win.
Right.
That's just being a good poker player. You have to feel that way. Else you shouldn't be playing against. You shouldn't be playing against them.
Right.
So, it's not just it's not just Andy.
Right.
Well, you're obviously used to playing high, playing in the big game. Is it any difference when you wake up in the morning and you're going to play 30-60 or 50-100 rather than 4-8 or
Well, it's worse because I never played for anybody. So being that it was a team of people who all put up the money, it was a lot more pressure because I didn't want to lose their money.
Right.
It's one thing to lose my money, but it's another thing to lose 19 other people's money.
Right.
So I was really I really tried to get as focused as I could and play as well as I could.
Right. Well, when you talk about that kind of pressure, is there any pressure situation in poker aside from having people to play for that ever really gets to you?
No, there's nothing really that got to me. There's nothing really that gets to me when I'm playing poker. It's just a poker game. That I was a little more careful and made sure I was making good decisions because again I was playing for other people. That to me is the worst.
Mm-hmm. Right.
To be responsible. Like I didn't want to lose $10 million.
When you finally came out and you obviously booked a big win and it's been written about, etc., did it feel was it an achievement for you on par with anything else that you've done in poker? Was it bigger? Was it any better than winning a bracelet or something along those lines, or just another day at the office? Basically?
I don't know. I didn't really think too much about it. They started writing about it and the buzz was going on the internet about it, but I didn't really think too much about it. I felt like I just did my job.
Mm-hmm.
They lost the first time. I think they lost, and so I just felt like I needed to play because I didn't want to keep posting. I don't want to keep posting $500,000 and losing.
Right.
So I felt as though I needed to play, and I wanted to give everybody a reasonable chance to win their money back.
Were you ever an internet player at all before you played?
Yeah, I used to play on the internet. I used to 3-4 years ago. I played a lot on the internet.
I heard that one of the things that you suggest, and this is probably something our listeners could benefit from, was playing at low stakes and trying to bluff every single pot. Is this something that you think people can use to work on their games, their bluffing ability?
Not really trying to bluff every single pot, but just play every single pot. I think that'd be good for a lot of players, especially if you consider yourself a tight player, just to try and figure out ways to win hands with nothing,
right?
And figure out certain values of certain situations that come up. So I think it's just good practice.
And you can actually learn playing that at the low stakes as well.
Yeah, you should learn that at the low stakes because you don't. If you do it at high enough stakes, it probably won't be good for you.
It's not going to last too long.
I think you should play every pot, no matter what stakes you're playing.
No, but there's something to be said for
approach.
that. At least you get to see all the different scenarios. There's probably not a whole lot of situations that come up that you don't see, that you haven't seen before.
And in order to survive in that type of game, you have to bluff a lot more than usual.
Right.
So, in order to have any chance, you're going to have to figure out spots where you could bluff and, know when you got to throw it away right away. And I think it's just a good exercise.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the main event. You said you have 23,000 right now going into day 3.
Yeah.
Where does that put? What are the blinds at right now?
6 and 1,200.
So how are you feeling going into day 3?
Well, I'm gonna send that 23,000 in and hope I double up real quick.
Yeah. I noticed that the people who follow you around are back. What's the story? I don't think everyone knows what the story with that is. We call them the Phil Ivey old people.
No, they're friends of mine. They when I first started playing down in Atlantic City, I used to play 1-3 or 1-5 with them. So, when I started coming out to Vegas, the first year I played in the main event, they were there just watching me the whole time.
Yeah.
So, they're just there to support me.
And you like them?
Yeah, I like them.
You guys are friends,
nice,
right?
Yeah, we're friends. They're very, very nice people.
Okay. No, I just didn't know. I didn't know if you actually knew them or if they were just
hang out with them? Did you take them to dinner?
Yeah, of course.
They're also very enthusiastic, as we can see. We have an email here for you. Hey, Phil, I had a question for you. What's the deal with the big $10 million or whatever buy-in tournament that was announced? You were introduced, as I recall, as an entrant into the tournament, and it was supposed to be the biggest tournament in history. I haven't heard anything more. Can you tell us what happened? Thanks, and good luck in the main event.
Okay. Well, I don't really know exactly what happened. happen. I just know that some guys from Fox came up to me and told me about they had a $10 million buy-in, and it was going to be 6 players. Was I interested in playing? I told them, yeah. I said, if you get the other 5 players, that I would play. So I'm still looking forward to it. Yeah. I mean, they haven't officially canceled it.
Right.
So
has anyone else stepped up?
I don't know. I just whenever they get the other 5 players, I'll be ready to play.
Can I borrow $10 million?
No, I was going to borrow from you.
Is there any amount that you would not play for?
Yeah, whatever. If I don't have it, I can't play for it.
But if you have it, you're playing for it.
I mean, if I have it, I'm probably going to play for it.
Hi, this is Stephanie Larimore, Playboy Playmate, June 2006. If you want to win a date with me, click on the tournament button and enter the free roll tournament. If you win, you could wine and dine me the naked poker way.
Welcome back to the circuit, everyone. Scott Huff, Gavin Smith, and Joe Sebok here in the Fontana Bar at Bellagio. That was the first 2/3 of our Phil Ivey interview. The rest will be back tomorrow. And if you want to improve your poker game and become as good as Phil Ivey and also win some money at the same time, check out www.cardplayer.com/freepoker, and you can register for our monthly free rolls worth $3,000 every month. Card Player Poker offers you a chance to play and win. We're givers. What can we say? Download and play right now. And also, Joe, did you know the Subscribe and Win is still going on, so you can still win your way to the Polar, Sumo, Penguin, Ice Fishing Championships?
I'm so stoked about that because those tickets are so freaking expensive, dude.
So are you going to go and subscribe right now for $19.99, 85% off of the cover price?
I'm going to because I can't afford the trip. I mean, I thought.
Where do they hold that every year? Where do they hold that?
The Polar. You're talking about the Sumo, the Ice Fishing Championship?
Yeah, where do they hold that?
Dude, it's in Antarctica.
Obviously. Are you going to go with him just so he can play Chinese poker with him on the plane?
No.
Really?
You're such a dick. Why not, man?
Because it's too cold.
Oh, yeah,
cold. I'll buy you
to Augusta.
I'll buy you a fur coat.
Gavin's going to Augusta.
No, I'd rather go to Augusta.
That's right.
Why don't we go to both?
I don't really enjoy hanging out with you all that much.
I think both of you should subscribe.
That's brutal.
Well, we'd like to thank our guest tonight, Phil Ivey. More with Phil tomorrow, and a special guest to talk about stupid prop bets. I've heard we've locked that down for tomorrow as well.
I just want to say, sometimes your words, Gavin, they hurt.
I'm sorry, Joe.
Sometimes they hurt.
But most of the words on the circuit help, and we'll be back with more help for your poker game tomorrow right here on Card Players, The Circuit.